Today, we're getting into the incredible story of a coach who has this amazing knack for walking into completely hopeless high school football programs and turning them into absolute powerhouses. And his secret? Well, it's not about finding some superstar quarterback. It's about installing a whole new system from the ground up. Let's get into it.
So let's just start with this question right here, because this isn't some hypothetical. This was the actual situation that Coach Steve Calande walked into. I mean, can you imagine being handed a team where losing is so ingrained it's basically part of their identity? Where do you even begin with something like that?
Well, for Coach Calande, the answer was actually pretty simple. You don't just try to swap out a few players here and there. No, the whole culture, the philosophy, the program's DNA, you have to rip it all out and start fresh. He was convinced that winning wasn't about finding a couple of star athletes. It was about installing a perfectly executed team-first system that everyone bought into.
And look, the scale of the challenge here was just immense. These weren't teams in a little slump. They were in a full-on death spiral. Look at Old Town High School, 4 wins and 62 losses over 8 years. East Catholic wasn't doing much better. I mean, these are the kinds of records that make good players just quit the sport and make entire towns give up hope. This is what Calande willingly walked into.
This quote, man, this says everything about the mindset he was up against. When Coach Calande asked his new players at Old Town what their strengths were, his toughest kid, the guy who should be the enforcer, said he could really take a beating. Think about that. Their pride wasn't in winning, it was in surviving. It was a culture of defeat, and that had to be the very first thing he changed.
So how did he actually do it, right? How do you reverse years and years of failure? Well, it all came down to a very specific, almost methodical blueprint. Let's break down the system that really changed everything. An offense called the double wing. Okay, so the double wing, it's not flashy. It's a grinder. It's an offense that's built on a pretty radical idea in modern football, that the linemen, the guys up front, are the most important players on the field. The whole point is to control the ball, control the clock, and just physically wear the other team down. For these kids who had only ever known what it felt like to lose, this idea of collective power, of being a crucial part of a bigger machine, was a total game changer.
So the whole system is built on just a few core non-negotiable principles. First, the team is everything. No big egos allowed, period. Second, you own the clock. You run the ball. You shorten the game, and you keep the other team's offense on the sideline. Third, and I love this one, deception is total. Calande demanded his players sell their fakes so hard that they would actually get tackled, even without the ball. And finally, everything they did in practice had to translate directly to the game. No wasted time, no wasted motion.
This quote right here is pure Calande. It's his entire offensive philosophy boiled down to one perfect sentence. It's not about the big 50-yard touchdown pass. Nope, it's about the relentless, methodical, grinding advance down the field, 2.5 yards at a time. It's about imposing your will on the other team, play after play after play.
Okay, so a great philosophy is one thing, but did it actually win games? You gotta have results, right? Well, let's take a look at what happened when the blueprint hit the field.
The results were, well, they were immediate. And honestly, kind of staggering. Just look at this. Old Town High School went from winning 0 games the year before he showed up to winning 6 and making the playoffs in his very first season. It was their first winning season in over a decade. This wasn't some slow, gradual build. This was an overnight revolution.
But the change wasn't just happening between the lines. Calande knew a winning program needs a winning community behind it, so he helped start a booster club for the parents. He created this voluntary before-school workout program called GUTS. And guess what happened? Kids wanted to be a part of it. The roster just swelled, going from 26 players to over 40, because you know what? Success is contagious.
And that success followed him to his next stop at East Catholic. In 2014, his team rushed for almost 4,000 yards. Just let that sink in. 3,995 yards. That was the best rushing total in the entire state of Connecticut. A team that had won only 2 games a few years earlier was now leading the state in the one thing that defined their new identity.
And it wasn't just the offense. That same exact year, the defense led the state in sacks with 38.5. This just proves that the system wasn't just about controlling the ball. It was about creating a culture of total physical dominance on both sides. They were aggressive, they were disciplined, and they were absolutely relentless.
But you know, what makes this whole story truly special is that Coach Calande didn't just keep this blueprint to himself. His success on the field was matched only by his dedication to teaching his system to literally anyone who wanted to learn.
You can really see the evolution right here.
It started small, back in the early 2000s, with Calande just selling handwritten notes about his beast formation to other coaches. But that eventually grew into a full-blown library of comprehensive manuals and DVDs sharing every single detail of his system with the world.
And when I say comprehensive, I mean it. We're talking a 158-page playbook, a 169-page drill manual, a complete guide to his blocking system, which has this awesome name, the Good God System, and a whole DVD set breaking it all down. He didn't just create a winning formula, he documented it with such incredible detail so that any coach at any level could learn how to do it too.
And of course, this work did not go unnoticed. In 2016, his peers, the other coaches, they officially recognized his impact. They named him Coach of the Year. It was really a validation not just of all the wins, but of his contribution to the game as both a brilliant innovator and a dedicated teacher.
Which kind of brings us to a final thought here. Steve Calande's story is about a coach who not only turned losers into champions, but also dedicated himself to sharing that winning formula. And it really makes you think, what's the true measure of a great coach? Is it the trophies they put in a case, or is it the knowledge they leave behind for others?